this?
So the other one that actually links very well with mindfulness is the art of thinking. And how the process of thinking works. I've been very fascinated. So even when we were, talking earlier before we got on the video, I find that how a person thinks or takes his decisions or her decisions is very reflective of who we are as people. The other thing I find very fascinating is how, when we've invented technology, we've actually been far truer to our best human selves than we have been in our real lives. Right?
Okay.
So I do believe.
How do you elaborate that?
Yes, the inspiration for all our technology comes from the human mind. The process of thinking. So if I had to ask you, how does a computer think? How does a computer process? What's your answer?
It processes based on energy and high speed and.
Well done. So
that's
energy, that's well done. So data, and then what happens to data?
The data is processed through a certain process. It goes through a certain process, and depending on that, you get result.
You get information. Well done. And that's exactly how the mind works. And you know how I found this out? I actually found this out from again my ancient scriptures.
Oh. Okay.
And it's fabulous. So the process of thinking is the process that starts at collecting data. Right? So the mind has 3 steps, and I'm going back to basic Freud now. So conscious, subconscious, unconscious. Your conscious mind, which is your persona, which is what interacts with the world, is what is called the manas. Now, the manas is just your 5 senses and feeling that you pick up, collect data from the world. So I touch the steel is cold, I touch tea is hot. So manas is just those strands of data that you input into your mind.
Okay.
Everything that you see, hear, taste, touch, feel, smell, whatever. Right? This is your RAM, your conscious mind is your RAM. So your RAM collects this data. Now, when you sleep, so this is your conscious mind that operates all day long and just collects this data or puts out data, engages with your world, transacts with your world. When you sleep, the process of sleep, REM sleep, and we spoke about sleep earlier, clears out this data, clears out this RAM, this cache memory, clears out this memory and organizes it into strands of information. Exactly what you said about the computer. This processing, this massaging of data into information, strands of information in your subconscious mind is done through 3 processors that you have inside you. These 3 processors are called Chitta, memory, Buddhi or Vivek, which is your pineal gland, so judgment, analysis, etc. and ego, your sense of self. Between these 3 processors, this data that you've interacted with as you sleep gets organized into your subconscious mind. So now you have the information.
Right.
This information, when you wake up the next day with a clear cache, is what your survival will rely on. Right? It will constantly be picking this information, strands of information. This is what will remind you that the next time you touch a hot cup of tea, your finger will get burned.
Right.
Being processed through the chitta. This is what will remind you of the music or a song playing which takes you back to a college memory. This is what will remind you of what happened when you met a particular person and the emotion it evoked in you, and how fond you were and how you couldn't stop smiling for the rest of your day. So this is the interaction between your RAM and your hard disk computer, using the processor, like I said, Manas, which is your data collectors, data points, transactors, and your Chitta, Viveka and Now here's where it gets fascinating. So what's the next step in computing? So there's data, there's information. What's next?
Output.
Yeah, so output is what comes back to you. What's next? What's the next threshold of computing?
The latest thing is quantum computing, where we have
Well done.
lots of things happening parallelly. So,
Well done. So tell me about it. Tell me about the step before quantum computing and after analog and digital computers.
oh, I wouldn't know. I can just deduce that there's a system which moves from normal computing to quantum computing.
Which is artificial intelligence, using artificial intelligence.
Okay.
What's AI?
AI is getting the machine to think in ways that are both machine-like and human-like, because we can't compute the way computer computes. We don't have the energy to do so many computations. So it's both. It's machine. It's behaving like a machine and behaving like a human being at the same time.
Yes, and the principles of AI are about plugging yourself into a network, having access to information or a network, so that you can do iterative learning. That's basically what the AI is, right? Having an insight beyond information, right? So we spoke of the conscious and the subconscious. This is where data and information happens. This is still not intuition or insight.
Okay.
The Vedas actually describe a silence called the Ritambara, which is your meditative silence, where this information gets cleared out from your subconscious and plugs into the universal consciousness from your unconscious mind.
Okay.
That is when it becomes insight or intuition. So every time, so therefore 3 levels process, and exactly what we've done with computing. Like I said, we've been truer to our computerized selves than we've been to ourselves. But so the data collected through Manas flows into your subconscious as information, processed through the processors of Viveka, Chitta and Aham. And then in the silence, which is Ritambara, which is meditation, which is deep sleep, it gets plugged into the universal consciousness, into the universal network, and then comes back to you intuitively. So when you actually say कि मेरा intuition ये कह रहा है, मेरा insight ये कह रहा है, you usually can't explain it because you may or may not have any data or information that supports it. But that is when that data that you collected has finally become intelligence or wisdom or insight or intuition. And when I learned this, I found this fascinating because it actually linked back to the other topic that we discussed, which was on sleep. About how a lot of people, and you must read this book by Matthew Walker on why we sleep, because he actually talks about data on how people who sleep are actually able to replay information better, are able to process information better, are able to play instruments better, are able to play sports better. He's actually a sports consultant.
No, I see.
On sleep.
Wow. Yeah.
So the other thinking was also very, very, very fascinating for me as well.
Right. I think society suffers from an action bias, and sleeping is not very glamorous.
Silence is not glamorous. I don't think we understand the importance of silence. We love our activity traps because we can see them.
Right.
And silence.
And this is something definite to do, sir.
Silence just requires a conversation with yourself.
Right, which seems like a lot of work for many people, I guess.
Yeah, that's a more difficult thing to do. Much easier to fight external battles than internal.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting one, yes.
Yeah.